the Ask Reef Beef. So Deep Reef asks us, you guys have talked about how the industry should be the one that ensures sustainability instead of the hobbyists. Now that the VC is consolidating multiple entities, does that one entity have more responsibility to do the right things in terms of sustainability now that they have a large stake in the industry? And no, I don't do tarot cards, which you should, because next time we're going to set up a booth at the next show we're at, and we're going to charge money for tarot readings, like $100. Do you think that does it change the responsibility now that they're bigger?
Man,
and doing the right thing. What is their responsibility in their first place?
Again, man, I'm probably too cynical sometimes, because I don't think it has much to do with the hobby. I just think it has everything to do with some people trying to make some money. You know, maybe they're going to try to make it's when you're talking about venture capitalists, sure, they could. I mean, how many in certain industries, I think venture capitalists have made, some industries better by, better manufacturing process or this or that. But I mean, by and large, it's sort of like you put up the money and put some stuff together, and then you get it profitable again, and you dump it off on someone else. I just feel my vote is I'm too cynical, and I just feel I don't see how it helps the hobby.
Well, I think maybe that's at the core of it. People think that businesses exist to help the hobby, and they don't. Businesses exist to make money. That's what they're there for.
If they help, it's almost like a ancillary thing.
Yeah, we're in some weird, and we struggle with it too, because this podcast takes time and effort, and we really dig all the support that we get from the beefers and from our sponsors. Because if we were just doing this for free, I don't think we would do it, and I think it would be somehow it'd be worse than it is. So
I know when you said that this show takes a lot of effort, and I felt bad for that one.
Well, for most people involved in the show.
Very little effort on my part. Slap some lipstick on and wear a cowboy hat and just show up.
Try to find a box. But yeah, no, the editing takes considerable time, and equipment takes time, and organization of the beefers takes time, and the stuff that we're doing behind the scenes. I know. Oh, by the way, if you think I should shut up about things that I can't talk about yet, put that in the notes down below. Rich, shut up about things you can't talk about. So we're in this weird place because we know that we're not going to take over the world, right? We know that we're not going to compete with Reef to Reef. We're not. We don't. We care about the hobby too much to go down that route. So there are people, there's these smaller companies. Champion Lighting, I think, cares about the people in the hobby, and they're doing shit the good way. And if you get bigger, it might get harder, but there's a bunch of companies, and then there's companies on the cusp of being too big to be useful. So it's a weird thing. So who has the responsibility? That's really the question. And I think that the industry, I think the industry should be the ones that ensure sustainability, because if they don't, government and regulation is going to do it for us.
But what's a little icky too is the companies that get really big that make informative videos, and I would, the videos can be informative, but if you don't realize that it's not the consensus of the whole hobby what they're saying, and at the same time too that what they're saying is sort of pushing you towards some things that they sell, so it's not like the total picture, and it's not completely from the heart on their part.
Let me ask you this: if you brushed your teeth, I know
look at these,
when you see a commercial for Crest toothpaste that gives some kind of facts about Crest and like shows some teeth getting whiter over time, or do you believe it?
No, but I'm a bad person to ask on that, because since I was a kid, like even for no good reason, I was just just skeptical of shit. Another thing too is like a toothpaste commercial does not make me go, oh shit, I need to get Crest, because that was a pretty rad commercial. I just sort of go and get what the fuck ever.
Well, right. No, that's what I guess somewhere in there is what I'm
marketing has doesn't seem, me personally, marketing has very little effect on what I end up buying.
Marketing is tough because if it comes from the company making the product, at some point you learn, hopefully, to squint at them, because of course they're trying to sell you something. If the skeptical reef keeping series that I wrote, if I said, okay, I'm making a skeptical reef keeping podcast, we're doing a skeptical reef keeping book, and we're going to have new content every week, right? At some point, the content's going to lose its power because I'm trying to fill space rather than provide inspired content.
Yeah.
So I think, when you start doing a weekly show about keeping a tank or setting up a tank or reef keeping, you've got to, how are you separating yourself from the stuff you're selling?
But, and then it seems like, I don't truly disparage some of these people, but they'll make a show like, well, not like this, but they'll make a show, a YouTube show or whatever. Hopefully no one in their right mind is going to wear lipstick just for shits and giggles. Who knows? But, you'll see that you feel like the goal they want to do is that they want to make money. So you see their show get more and more commercialized, or they start saying, buy this, blah, blah, blah. And you see them, pushed in that direction. In my opinion, the content gets like real cheesy. And I'm super sensitive to that. So if I feel like you're not really talking to me, that you're trying to convince me to get what your sponsor is telling you to get, even on our sponsors, we don't talk about all the things that our sponsors make, because we don't talk about the stuff we're not comfortable with. If our sponsor sells something that we're iffy on, we've told the sponsor we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
We're not, hey, could you talk about this? We look at it,
and even this show gets iffy now. We got 2,000 subscribers on YouTube and a bunch of members, and that's great, and we love it. To make it go bigger, we would need significant amounts of more time to be able to be paying attention, and then it would become a job, more of a job. And then it's like, well, I don't, what am I getting from doing this? And it gets harder. So we got a little lost this year a few times, I think, in trying to figure our way through it. And now we're back to, what? We're going to be as big as we are for the audience that likes us, and that's what we're going to do. We're Mystery Science Theater. We are not Oprah, right?
We're esoteric. And
so I don't know how you do that with a company. And I think that's what, this hobby is so science adjacent. You have so much access to people who are actually doing science, or it feels like you have access to people that do science, that we think that science has been done for the hobby, right? But it really kind of hasn't, right? And it's the same thing with these, who is making the videos that you're watching about products and why? Did they get it for free? I'm really less interested in that. I assume they got it for free, because who cares? But are they selling it to you?
But you go in the comments section, and to circle back to something we were talking about previously, is you see people get like dogmatic about this stuff, and just become, anyone in the limelight gets, I guess you could call them like sycophants, like there's Tidal Garden sycophants, and what's that good, New York Stilo sycophants, and MD Aquatic sycophants, and Reef Beef sycophants, and everyone's sort of, not everyone, but people tend to draw their line, and say like, oh, I only listen to this show, or I only listen to these people.
I think people call them fanboys and haters. Instead of your fancy Texas words.
Sycophants.
So what are we saying about this? Deep Reef. I think it would be great if if these big VC companies got together and said, hey, we're trying to give back, and this is what we're doing to give back. I think they could do it. They could do it. Ben's shaking his head no, but they don't do it. Instead, they go, how do we give back in a way that makes us more money? Exactly. And so they end up doing videos that are kind of useful, but may not be completely useful. I mean, I guess we're back to the same thing. It's carpe diem. It's seize the day, let the buyer beware. Carpe diem doesn't mean let the buyer beware. You as a reef person have got to know where your information is coming from and what they're doing. I was telling somebody the other day about the push and pull thing with the calcium reactors, right? And every time we've looked into it, or I've talked to anybody about it, we always figure out that pushing, you want to push through the calcium reactor. You go through it. You don't pull through it. You push through it. And that's mainly because it's more efficient for the calcium reactor to rid itself of bubbles with a push. It's a little easier for it to not get a vapor lock. But if you're pulling, it's easier for it to get a vapor lock. And
some Discorders or some beefers in our Discord a while back, the one calcium reactor that I'm running, they sort of convinced me of the pulling, and I'm still pulling on that one client's deal.
It'll work, but the point is I tracked down where the first discussion of pulling is that I could find. And it was from a video from an online vendor. I don't know why I'm not saying their name. You all know who it is. And they had a new new feed pump for the calcium reactor. And they had a video about it. And one of the big things was that, if you pull instead of push, if there's a leak, it's less likely you could drain your whole tank.
Drain a 150-gallon reef tank off of
right. No, I mean, you could, and it made some kind of sense, but it looks to my eye that the whole point of that video was to make content about the pump. And now, look, we have a new pump. Instead of saying, yeah, we have a new pump, they made something that seemed like controversial. Should you push or pull? Which nobody had really asked before. Everyone was always pushing. That's how you do it. You pressurize a system. That's what makes it all go out. And so they decided to talk about something kitschy that would get people talking, and it did. And now, 15 years later, we're still having discussions about push and pull. And that was, as far as I can tell, a straight up marketing nothing claim to just get some interest in the product. So you gotta be more skeptical. You gotta pay attention. You gotta let the million monkeys play with stuff, and you gotta read widely so you don't get stuck by one dogmatic viewpoint. You got to see what other people have to say and fucking get pictures and videos of people's tanks before you take their advice.